Hey guys, so this is my last video about about our quiz. I think this is the fourth and last one. So we have here 46 to 60. Then it says here, using the text file in number 3, okay, create a program that prompts the user to input his or her username and password. So we're only gonna be inputting the username and password in this one, unlike in number 3. And over here, display the user's username, gender, birthday, and contact number. Basically, we're gonna display all the data except the password. And then over here, when the inputted username and password match with the stored username and password within the text file. Okay, so we will be only displaying the user's data only if our input on username and password match that of the text file that we created in number 3. So I'm guessing if that's not the case, so if the username or password did not match, then we're gonna prompt that username or password is incorrect or something. Okay, so over here we have a simple input program. We have here is basically say out we're prompting the user to input the username, and then whatever the user inputs, it's gonna be stored here in our string UN for username and then PW for password. Okay, so a very simple input here. Then over here I declared two Boolean variables which are called exists and correct password. So basically this will track or keep track whether or not the username actually exists in the file, or as well as if the password is correct. So they're false by default since we haven't really checked yet at this point of the program, so false by default. Okay, next, so over here made use of if stream to open the file, to access the file, and then I also have a string here called line. Same thing with number 3. So basically we opened the data.txt file, which we will get from our number 3 in a sec. We're gonna transfer that file into our folder, and then here if the file was not successfully opened, it basically prompts that there was an error in opening the data.txt. Actually, I'm gonna put my file that closest well here since we're gonna return 0 here. Okay, so otherwise if there was no error, we're just gonna go back here. So we have here a counter. Basically this tracks what line we are in the file. So if you remember correctly, the first line in our file will always store the username, and then the second line will always store the password. So basically we're gonna be checking here. We're only gonna be comparing the line on that line basically. So it this basically checks if we are on the first line, which stores the username. So if ctr is equal 0 and that line actually matches the username that was inputted here. So if you remember correctly, if for example if we inputted real len, that's going to be stored on the first line in the file, then it's going to compare it here with the inputs user in number 4. So if it actually matches, then we're gonna declare that the username exists using this statement. Oops. And then after that, so since this is an else if, it's gonna be skipped if this was correct, and then we're gonna go here in the ctr++. So now our counter will be at 1. Okay, so since we're using this while in this get line, so after executing, we're gonna be jump to the next line. Then if you remember correctly, the password is always at the second line. So over here if it checks, so this is not gonna be true anymore since we're no longer on the first line, but we are on the second line. So ctr equals 1, and then we're gonna check if the line is equal, the line that was extracted from our file. We're gonna check if that matches our password that was inputted here, and if that's the case, then the correct password Boolean variable will become true. So if it doesn't match, this will simply not be executed, so the correct password or exists will remain false. So that's how I check if the username and or password matches. Okay, So after that, we're gonna close the file, and then here we're going to check if the username or password exists. So if it does not exist, I'm simply gonna prompt that username that does not exist. So really simple. Else if the password is not correct, so for example you did get the username right but your password is incorrect, that so we're gonna uh, say here incorrect password. So there you go. And then else if both of these does not get triggered, which means that the username does exist and the password is correct, then we're gonna execute this piece of code here. So we're gonna open data.txt again, and then if it's opened, we're basically going to see out everything except for the password. So if you remember here correctly, we are to display all the data except the password. So this is a while loop. This iterates through every line in the file, so it's going to iterate through the password as well, but we have here a gatekeeper. So if the line is equal to the password, or yeah, if the line is not equal to the password, then it's going to print. So if the line is actually equal to the password, this is not going to be executed, so it will simply be skipped. So let's actually run the program now. Actually we have to first transfer the file from number 3. So this is the file from number 3. If you remember earlier, 31 to 45. I'm just gonna simply copy this and paste it to our number 4 file. So these are data.txt, and then now if we input a username here, actually I actually forgot what, actually no, I remember. So our username was reallen and our password was Ryu. And then as you can see here, it was successful. It successfully read the file and printed all the data except the password. So reallen, mail, October 12, and then the contact number. Now let's actually try if the username was incorrect. So let's just put a random username here. It says here that username does not exist, so that works. And then what if the username was correct but we somehow made the password incorrect? So I made use of a capital R, which is not my password. So if I click enter, it says your incorrect password. So there you go, the program works.